I never thought I'd be the kind of mother who would destroy her own son's life. But then again, I never thought I'd raise the kind of man who would let his wife die alone while he partied with strangers in a car I bought him. It started with this feeling in my chest, this horrible, suffocating dread that wouldn't leave me alone for 3 days. You know that feeling when something's wrong, but you can't put your finger on it. That's what dragged me out of my house at 6 in the morning to drive 4 hours without calling first. I should have called. I always call. But something told me not to give him the chance to prepare whatever lie he was about to tell me. I've spent 32 years sacrificing for that boy. 32 years of second mortgages to pay for his mistakes, of taking him back every time he promised to change, of believing his sob stories about bad luck and cruel circumstances. I gave him the down payment for that apartment where he lives with Sarah. I co-signed the lease when his credit was garbage. I bought him that car, that beautiful, reliable car, because he said he needed it to get to job interviews that never seemed to turn into actual jobs. But Sarah, my daughter-in-law, she was different. She was the one good thing he'd managed to hold on to, and God knows how. Sweet, hard-working Sarah, who always remembered my birthday, who called me just to check in, who made me feel like maybe, just maybe, my son had finally found his way because he'd found her. The last time we talked, though, her voice sounded weak, strained. She said she'd been feeling under the weather, but when I offered to bring soup, she quickly said she was fine, that Marcus was taking good care of her. I should have known then. I should have known that any sentence starting with, "Marcus is taking good care of," was going to be a lie. So there I was, standing outside their apartment building at 10 in the morning, my hands shaking as I climbed those stairs. The hallway smelled like garbage and something else, something sick and stale that made my stomach turn. When I got to their door, I used the spare key Sarah had given me months ago, the key Marcus didn't know she'd given me. What I saw inside will haunt me until the day I die. The apartment looked like a bomb had gone off. Dishes piled high in the sink, food rotting on counters, mail scattered everywhere. Bills, mostly, with those angry red stamps that mean final notice. But it was the bedroom that broke my heart. Sarah's medication bottles were lined up on the nightstand, most of them full, like she'd been too weak to even open them. Her water glass was bone dry. The sheets were tangled and soaked with sweat. But no Sarah and no Marcus. I ran to the neighbor's apartment, pounding on the door until Mrs. Rodriguez answered. She took one look at my face and started shaking her head. "Mrs. Williams," she said, "the ambulance took Sarah 3 days ago. 3 days." She was screaming for help in the hallway. We had to break down the door because she couldn't get up to open it. "Where have you been? Where has your son been?" 3 days. 3 days she'd been gone, and I hadn't known. 3 days, and Marcus had said nothing. Nothing. I drove to the hospital like a woman possessed, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight I thought it might snap. The doctor, Dr. Martinez, sat me down in one of those horrible little rooms where they deliver bad news and explained that Sarah had been admitted with severe dehydration, a kidney infection that had spread to her blood, and a fever that had spiked to 104 degrees. "How long was she sick before she came in?" he asked. I don't know. A week? Maybe more." His face went dark. "Mrs. Williams, this didn't happen overnight. She's been critically ill for at least 2 weeks. This is the kind of condition that develops when someone is completely neglected. Where was her husband? Where was her husband? Where was my son? Where was the man I raised to protect the people he loves? I was fumbling for my phone to call him when I heard it. Loud music and laughter coming from the parking lot outside. I looked out the window and felt my entire world collapse. There was my car, my beautiful silver sedan that I'd signed my name to, that I was still making payments on. And there was Marcus behind the wheel, windows down, music blasting, surrounded by people I'd never seen before. Young women hanging out the windows, beer bottles glinting in the sunlight, everyone laughing and carrying on like they didn't have a care in the world, while his wife was fighting for her life 3 floors above his head. I watched him drive away, watched my car disappear around the corner, and felt something inside me die. Not break, die. The part of me that had spent 3 decades making excuses for him, believing in him, hoping he'd change. It just stopped breathing. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Hey, Mom. Still at the hospital with Sarah. She's stable, but I can't leave her side. Thanks for understanding." I stared at that message for a full minute. Then I took a screenshot. Then I called the police. "I need to report a stolen vehicle," I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. "The driver may be intoxicated and is definitely driving recklessly with multiple passengers." I gave them the license plate number, the description, the location where I'd last seen it. I gave them everything. Then I called my lawyer. "Janet, it's me. I need you to draw up papers immediately. I want to transfer the apartment lease entirely to my daughter-in-law's name. I want my son removed from everything. The lease, the utility accounts, everything. And I need to know how to legally reclaim my car." "Slow down," she said. "What's happened?" So I told her. I told her about Sarah lying alone and dying while Marcus partied. I told her about the lies, the neglect, the years of enabling I was finally ready to end. I told her I was done being the kind of mother who protected her son at the expense of everyone else he hurt. "I'll have the papers ready by tomorrow," she said quietly. "And the car is easy. It's in your name. You can have it repossessed any time you want." I spent the next week moving like a machine. I hired a private nurse for Sarah. I paid to upgrade her to a private room. I set up visitor restrictions, so Marcus couldn't get near her without her permission. I transferred money into Sarah's personal account, money that would help her start over when she was strong enough. And I waited. Marcus came to the hospital 4 days later, furious and demanding answers. Security stopped him at the door to Sarah's room, and he called me, screaming about embarrassment and betrayal. And how could I do this to him? "Where's my car?" he demanded, when he finally found me in the hospital cafeteria. "Your car," I said, not looking up from my coffee. "You mean my car? The one that's been repossessed and sold? That car?" His face went white. "You didn't. I did, and the apartment too. Sarah's name is on everything now. Yours isn't." He started yelling then, making a scene, calling me names I won't repeat. When that didn't work, he switched tactics. Started crying, telling me about his gambling debts, about dangerous people who would hurt him if he couldn't pay. Started talking about how he was my only child, how I was supposed to love him unconditionally, how mothers don't abandon their children. "You're right," I said, standing up to leave. "Mothers don't abandon their children, but I'm not abandoning my child. I'm abandoning the stranger you've become." He grabbed my arm. "Mom, please. I made mistakes, but I can change. I can do better. Just give me another chance." I looked at his face. This face I'd kissed goodnight for so many years. This face I'd worried over and prayed for and loved beyond reason and felt nothing but exhaustion. "I gave you 32 years of chances," I said. How many was Sarah supposed to give you? How many times should she have almost died before I stopped helping you kill her? He tried to push past me to get to Sarah's room, but security was waiting. 2 guards walked him out while he screamed threats and promises and apologies, all mixed together. Through the window, I watched him try to get into cars that weren't there. Watched him realize he had no way home. Watched him finally understand that the safety net I'd spent decades weaving under him was gone. Sarah asked for the visitor restriction herself. When she was strong enough to speak, she told me she'd been afraid to call for help because Marcus had convinced her that her illness was her fault, that she was being dramatic, that real wives handled things better. She'd been apologizing to me for being sick, for causing trouble, for making me drive all that way. This broken, beautiful girl was apologizing to me for almost dying while my son partied. We became something I'd never expected. Real family. Not the kind bound by blood or obligation, but the kind bound by choice and care and genuine love. I helped her recover, helped her find a new apartment, helped her build a life that didn't revolve around waiting for Marcus to decide she was worth his attention. And Marcus learned what the world looks like when you have to earn your own way through it. I saw him 3 months later, washing cars at a gas station on the other side of town. Our eyes met across the parking lot, and for just a moment, I saw the little boy he used to be. The one who brought me dandelions and promised to take care of me when I was old. But then he straightened up and started walking toward me, that familiar look of entitlement creeping back into his face. And I remembered why I was done. I got in my new car, a small, practical thing that I bought for myself, and drove away. He called after me, but I didn't stop. He sent messages later, long rambling texts about how sorry he was, how much he'd learned, how he just needed one more chance to prove himself. I deleted them all. People ask me if I feel guilty, if I regret destroying my own son's life. But here's what they don't understand. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped building walls between him and the consequences of his choices. I stopped being the reason he never had to grow up. And Sarah? Sarah is thriving. She got a promotion at work. She's dating a kind man who brings her soup when she's sick and calls when he says he will. She sends me pictures of her garden, of the books she's reading, of the life she's built without fear. She calls me mom now, and when she says it, she means it. Sometimes I wonder if I should have done this years ago. How many people might Marcus have learned to value if I'd stopped teaching him that love means never facing consequences? How much pain could have been avoided if I'd been brave enough to let him fall the first time instead of the 50th? But I can't change the past. I can only choose what kind of mother, what kind of person I want to be from here forward. And I choose to be the kind who protects the vulnerable, even when the predator is someone I love, even when the predator is someone I raised.